So today we're going to talk about distributive property. Distributive means to multiply. So distributive property is going to happen when you have parentheses and then something outside of the parentheses. So how it works is everything outside the parentheses is multiplied by everything inside the parentheses. So what I have y'all do is we draw an arrow from the 8 to the x and an 8 to the 5. 8 times x would be 8x. And 8 times positive 5 would be positive 40. And that's it for that. That's distributive. All right, let's do this. We have negative 6. So that would be negative 6 times z. And negative 6 times negative 1. Negative 6 times z would be negative 6z. Negative 6 times negative 1. A negative times a negative is a positive, and 6 times 1 is 6. Okay? Let's go here. Now we have letters. So we're going to include letters and numbers. If the letters are different, we're going to multiply them exactly like we would do with numbers. So 7 is going to be multiplied by the 3. So 7 times 3 is 21. A times B is AB. 7 times negative 2 is negative 14. A times C is just AC. 7 times 4 is 28. And then we would have that A at the end. You can't combine any of these because the terms are different. AB plus an AC and A are all different terms. So you can't combine them. So this would just be your answer. You'd be finished. All right, let's do 4. Again, we draw our distributive arrows. 3 times 2 is 6. The y would stay. Positive 3 times negative 7. Positive times negative is a negative. 3 times 7 is 21. Now, out here, if we pay attention, there's just a negative symbol outside the parentheses. It's the same thing as there being a negative 1. So we're going to automatically put that 1 there, and then we're going to distribute that negative 1 times everything inside the parentheses. Negative 1 times positive 5. Negative times positive is a negative. 1 times 5x would be negative 5x. Negative 1 times positive 1 would give us negative 1. That's our answer. All right, let's look at 6. We have a b, so we're going to multiply the b times everything inside. B times A would be AB because it needs to be in alphabetical order. And B times negative 6 would just give us negative 6B. All right, let's look at the last one. Now we're going to actually start distributing and combining like terms together. So if we look, 6 needs to be multiplied by everything in this parentheses. Negative 5 needs to be multiplied by everything in this parentheses. So we're going to draw our arrow from the 6 here. And from the negative 5 here. Now we got to pay attention. It's not a 5, it's a negative 5, and that does matter. So now I have 6 times x, which gives us 6x, and 6 times 1, which gives us 6. Here I have negative 5x, because negative 5 times x gives us negative 5x, and negative 5 times positive 2, negative times a positive is a negative, 5 times 2 is 10. So now if we look, we actually can combine like terms. Combine like terms means we find things that are the same. So 6x can be combined with negative 5x. So 6x minus 5x gives us 1x. A positive 6 can be combined with a negative 10. So 6 minus 10, well, if I have 6 fingers holding up, I cannot take away 10, and the 10's bigger, therefore my answer is going to be a negative. 10 minus 6 is 4. So after I distributed, I combined like terms and I would get my final answer, which would be 1x minus 4. Now on a test, you won't see this because if there's 1x, you would just have an x by itself minus 4. So that would be your final answer for this distributive property. So you would do distributive property and then we would combine like terms to get our final answer. All right, let's do a couple more. They're going to get harder, obviously. All right, let's look at number 8. Obviously, I want y'all writing these down with a piece of paper and loose leaf, so feel free to pause it if you need to. All right, so again, we're going to do distributive property. Everything on the outside of the parentheses be multiplied by the inside. So here we go. 8 times x and 8 times 5. That would give us 8x plus 40. Now we're going to do that negative 4 times x and the negative 4 times 4. Negative 4 times x would be negative 4x. Negative 4 times positive 4 would give us a negative 16, because a negative times a positive is a negative. 4 times 4 is 16. Now we're going to combine like terms. The x's can go together, so that would just be 8x minus 4x. The constants, which are numbers by themselves without a variable, can go together, which would be 40 minus 16. And then I would just work it out. So 8 minus 4 is 4x. 40 minus 16, well, 0 cannot subtract 6, so I'll borrow. 10 minus 6 is 4. 3 minus 1 is 2, and it's positive. So your answer would be 4x plus 24. All right, let's look at this one. We know that the negative 4 is going with everything inside the parentheses. So that would be negative 4x. Negative times a positive is a negative. 4 times 8 is 32. Now here we see a negative symbol, but we don't see anything behind it. So we know to put a 1, because it's really a negative 1. So I'm going to distribute that negative 1. Negative 1 times x would be negative x. And if you want to put the 1 there, that's perfectly fine. I like to put the 1 there for me. Negative times a negative makes a positive. 1 times 7 is 7. So now I'm going to combine like terms. X's go with x's. So negative 4x minus 1x. Constants go with constants. Negative 32 plus 7. So this is saying I lost 4 things, I lost another thing. So that means I lost a total of 5. The 32 is bigger, so my answer is going to be negative. And then I can just subtract 32 minus 7, and I'm going to get 25. So this would be my final answer. Negative 5x minus 25, or you could say negative 5x negative 25. All right, let's do the next one. Same thing, we're going to distribute. Okay, so that would give me negative 7w. Negative and a negative is a positive 28. I'm going to bring this down. Plus 3w minus 27. And if you notice, there was no second set of parentheses, so I could just bring everything straight down. We're going to combine. So I can combine this 3w with this negative 7w. So negative 7w plus 3w. And I can combine this 28 and this negative 27. So 28 minus 27. Well, clearly, that's going to give us an answer. Negative is bigger for the 7, which makes my answer negative. 7 minus 3 is 4w. And then 28 minus 27 is positive 1. So then my answer would be negative 4w plus 1. Okay? Let's look at 11. 11's getting a little bit harder. Okay? Not super hard, but it is getting harder. So again, we're going to distribute. So we're going to distribute the negative 8 to the v and the negative 8 to the 3. 21 would come straight down. Negative 8 times v would be negative 8v. Negative 8 times 3, well, negative times a positive is a negative. 8 times 3 is 24. Everything else would come straight down. I can combine things that are the same. So I have a 21, a negative 24, and a positive 3. And all of those are numbers by themselves. So I'm going to say 21 plus 3 is 24. Minus 24 leaves me with 0. Now I can combine these because the terms are the same. They both have that v. And I have negative 8v, positive 7v. Well, the bigger number is the negative, therefore my answer is a negative. 8 minus 7 is 1, 1v. So because this is 0, it vanishes, and another way to write negative 1v would just be negative v. So even though this problem was super long, the answer to this problem is